Hi everybody, this video pertains to the research project. I am releasing this at the end of week 3. We've got another day left to turn in the first aspect of our research project, and I've fielded questions from a handful of you and given you clarification on some of the things that you weren't 100% clear on. And then I've answered a couple of questions in the coffee shop discussion boards as well. So hopefully everyone has a handle on this by now, but if you don't, that's okay. That's what this video is for. It's just to offer some further clarification on what to do for step 3. That's our first submission of this research project. And I've spread this research project out over 3 weeks. So by July 14th, Sunday night, July 14th, when your final research project is due, you will be done with it. It'll be behind you, and the next few weeks you can dedicate strictly to the coursework and to preparing for the final exam in the final week. So I've tried to lay this out in steps, and I've tried to get it out from under us as early into the summer term as possible. But I want to, again, give some further clarification on what you need to submit this week being week 3, June 30th by 11:59 p.m. So first step, you're going to go into the course page. You're going to go into modules. And I'm using History 17A's view for this, but History 17B students, you're going to be following the same guidelines. The topic choices are going to be a little bit different. So what I'm actually referencing as far as topics go will look differently in the History 17B course, but the same steps apply. So we're going to find the research project. You will see on your end that I've only published steps 1 through 3. That's because, again, that's all you need for this week. Next week, I'll publish step 4 and step 5, where you're going to choose what type of research project you're going to do. And you're going to create basically an outline for how you're going to lay out your information and come up with a basic title for your research project. But I'm giving you a few different options for how to present your research findings, either the traditional way through an essay paper or through a website, web pages type of format, which we will be using Adobe Spark for, or a video presentation, which I prefer a documentary style, but I'm going to give you some creative license as long as you're able to answer the prompt effectively and thoroughly. So, but we'll get into that next week being week 4 of this term. And then the final step that I'm going to release will be the following week. That's step 6, and that's just where you're going to submit your final research project based on the prompts that you're giving in the topic of your choosing. So let's go back up to the top here. We're dealing with steps 1 through step 3 in week 3, and this again is due by June 30th. But in step 1, you're going to find all of the instructions you need. So this is a place to start, and this is a place to refer back to. Now, originally I was planning on rolling out the first phase of the research project in week 2. So there's a little bit of confusion on the dates at first, but I've updated everything. So now it reflects our appropriate dates. Step 1 through 3, that's due June 30th. Step 4 and 5 is going to be the following week, due by June 7th. And then the final research project is due the final week after that, or the week after that, which is July 14th. All right, so all of your instructions and guidelines are found in step 1. Step 2 is just where you choose your topic. All right, so you're going to see 3 different topic options. Each one of those topics, if you click into them, the actual pages that describe the topic will have your articles or chapters that you need to read. It's going to include the name of them and the author as well. And then it's going to include your prompt, some of the questions that you need to consider and address thoroughly in your research project. All right, so now we need to figure out how do we create a bibliographical entry and an author biography. If you go into step 3, I give you actual examples of how to do both. And this website right here, this link that I give you, is where you can link to get additional information. It's a great source, a reference that you can use for your bibliographical citations. All right, and then this is an example of what one might look like. This is if it was a journal article. And then here is an example of what an author biography might look like as well. You want to find out, where do they work? You want to find out what their area of expertise is. And you want to find out what else they've published. All right, so those types of things are really what you want to include. Other books, other articles, who have they written for, or what have they, what periodicals have they written for, that type of thing. And you just want to give a short bio. It's going to be probably 3 to 5 sentences. 5 sentences max should cover your bio. So these shouldn't be super lengthy. All right, so let's go back now. We're going to pretend that we're choosing topic 1. So again, we've got our topic here in instructions. This little link portion underneath is where you're going to find your actual PDF that has all of your sources combined in one PDF document. You can download it here, or you can just view it in the web version of Canvas at any point. My personal preference, download a copy of it. Totally worth it, totally easier to navigate. All right, so that's where you'll find your actual documents that you need, your actual sources. Okay, but again, we're choosing topic 1. I want to find out how to cite this source here. Okay, A New Kind of Revolution by Carl Degler. I'm going to close out some of these tabs. Okay, so let's start here. Okay, I'm going to copy this title and author name. I'm just going to paste it into this browser. Let's see what we come up with. All right, so now you're going to have to use your discretion. You're just going to have to kind of look and go, okay, am I seeing anywhere? Was it an essay? Maybe. Okay, I'm just going to look before I click anything. Oh, wait, what's this? Out of Our Past, The Forces That Shape Modern America. Chapter 3. Chapter 3, A New Kind of Revolution. Right author name. This is saying chapter 3. It's giving me a different title. Okay, so does that mean that this is out of a book of his? Maybe this is a chapter. So let's look. Out of Our Past. I'm going to type in his last name, Degler. Okay, so Amazon is actually a pretty good source because Amazon a lot of times lets you look inside of an actual book. All right, so sure enough, this is an actual book. Out of Our Past, The Forces That Shape Modern America by Carl Degler is indeed a book. Let me see if I can find out any other information here. I would just want to verify that A New Kind of Revolution is something out of this book. As I'm scrolling through. Okay, here's the table of contents. I could click on that over here too. And boom, A New Kind of Revolution. Okay, so now I know I'm not dealing with an article out of a periodical or out of a journal. I'm dealing with a section of a book. Now the question is this something that Carl Degler wrote as a chapter or section of a book that was edited together with a bunch of different authors? Because that's going to determine how I cite this. Or was this a chapter out of a book that he wrote himself? Which is actually the case, right? This is by him. This is a book. We're just looking at an excerpt from that book. Okay, well, that's important to know. Now, do we know exactly when it was published? Well, a lot of times inside the books themselves, we can see a publication page. The problem with going through Amazon for this little preview is sometimes they don't show you everything. Okay, so, all right, I don't see anything in here. It should be in the first few pages where they say who the publisher was and what date it was published and the city, that type of thing. All right, so let's scroll down here. A lot of times in the product details, you'll have some extra information. Publisher was Harper Perennial. This is the 3rd revised edition that they're selling, which was published in 1983. We don't have a city for Harper Perennial, but that's okay. That gives us some more information. Let's go back to looking at this book title that I had Googled, Out of Our Past. Let's see what else we have in here. Oh, look, HarperCollins. That's the publisher, right? Well, let's click into there. Okay, so now here's the publisher. We can look at product details. Does that tell us anything? Still says 1983, the end of 1983. Okay. But it doesn't tell us a city. Still, we could probably dig that up. Let's look at this read a sample. All right, let's see what we find. Do we find in here a page, Harper Perennial? Okay, here we go. Look, so here we go. This is the 3rd edition. This has original copyright 59, then 70, and then again in 84. We'd seen the end of 83 on Amazon and even on the HarperCollins website. But inside the book, they're actually calling it 84. That's what we're going to go off of. 1984, that's the most recent publication date. And then New York, right? That's the city. That's where Harper Perennial is located. Now we've seen HarperCollins. We've seen Harper Perennial. Here we've got Harper and Row. Look, honestly, if it comes down to just you calling it Harper and Row when it could have been called HarperCollins or Harper Perennial, fine. That's totally fine. Don't worry about that. They've changed names from time to time. It's still Harper is going to be found in there, so it'll work. But you want to find who that actual publisher is. You want to find the date to use, and you want to find the city. So now that we know all of those things, we know what book this was from. We know who the author is because he's the one who wrote the book and the excerpt that we're reading. And we now know, again, who the publisher is and what year and what city. All right, now we can go back. And remember, I said in step 3, I gave you a website link for the Turabian Chicago style for bibliographical citations and note citations. Let's look at the bibliographical entry for a book. Remember, I said that if this was a chapter or a portion of a book that he wrote for an edited book that contained works of multiple different authors, then that would be a chapter or other part of an edited book. That's not what this is. This is just a part of his book. Okay, so this is what we want to look at, the bibliographical entries or bibliography entries. This would have his name, last name, then first name, so Degler, Carl. It would have the title of the book, so Out of Our Past, and we need to use the whole name, Out of Our Past, the forces that shaped modern America, and that would all be in italics, period. Then the city, which again was New York. We found that on the Harper Perennial or HarperCollins website, colon, and then the name of the publisher. So again, if you did HarperCollins or you did Harper Perennial, that's fine. Either one in this case would work fine, comma, and the year. And we're going to use that last year, the most recent publication from the third revised edition. And again, here it says 1983 in the actual book itself. When we looked at the sample, it says 1984. Let's go off of that. But again, I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire on this. If you put 1983 instead of 1984, that's fine. You're still doing the work. You're creating a good bibliographical citation. All right, so I'm not too specific on that, but as long as I can see where you're getting your information, that's the most important thing. But this is the website you want to use for that reference. But it takes some work to kind of vet that out. But this is a big part of what this project is about. It's about identifying sources to know, who am I reading? Like, what is this source? Where did it come from? Who wrote it? When was it published? Like, all of those are questions you want to ask of any source that you read. So this little bit of investigation that you have to do is part of the process. And then lastly, you're going to want to find out, okay, I've got to do a little short author bio on Carl Degler. So let's look up Carl Degler. And you'll probably find some Wikipedia type of stuff, and that's fine. Use that as a starting point. We can see that he was a professor of American history at Stanford University. Most of the authors we read are going to be historians who are professors or were professors at some university, but not always. They might be journalists. They might be someone else. So it's not always going to be limited to a professor or an academic, as we would say. But here's what I would want you to look for. If you find out at any point that this was or is a professor at a certain university, try to find their author or their biography page, their faculty page on that university website. So I would just search like Carl Degler, Stanford. Now, he might not work there anymore, and so there might not actually be a Stanford page for him, but that's something that I would want to look for. This is interesting. So, all right, here he is. He's passed away. But this has a lot of information about him. He was a Pulitzer Prize winning historian. And boom, now we've got all this information. All I'm looking for, again, 3 to 5 sentences. That's it. I just want to know, who were they? Where did they work? What was their area of expertise? And what are some other things that they've written? Other articles, other publications, other books, that type of thing. All right, so that's how you find your author bios. That's how you find your bibliographical citations. Of course, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me, and I will be happy to clarify. But hopefully between the instructions that are found in step 1 and in step 3 and this video here, you're able to piece together what you need to submit the first aspect of your research project, which again is just choosing your topic, creating bibliographical entries for every single source that I give you. You don't need to find any other sources. And then creating short author bios for all the authors that are found in your sources. And all of that can be done on a single document, 1 to 2 pages that you submit through Canvas. But again, if you have any other questions, please feel free to email me before the due date, and I'll be happy to give you any further clarification.